I'm sure by now you've seen images scattered across the internet of Iran before the revolution. When one juxtaposes these photographs of Iran before the revolution with its current imagery, a stark contrast emerges, encapsulating the profound socio-political upheaval that swept the nation in 1979. Before the Iranian Revolution, images of bustling streets, vibrant urban centers, and women adorned in Western attire portrayed a country on the cusp of modernization. However, the post-revolutionary landscape reveals a nation transformed, characterized by veiled women, religious fervor, and the ubiquitous presence of Ayatollah Khomeini's image, marking the ascendancy of an Islamic state. Understanding the events leading to this monumental shift requires a nuanced exploration of historical grievances, socio-economic disparities, and the clash between traditional Islamic values and Western influence. The Iranian Revolution did not erupt in isolation, but simmered beneath the surface, fueled by decades of discontentment among the populace and a key sequence of events that would change the Middle East forever. Now, we have to start by dispelling some of the rumors and exaggerations. Before the revolution, life for the average person in Iran was not as idealistic as the images might suggest. Prior to the revolution, Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi ruled over Iran after assuming the throne in 1941. His tenure was marked by authoritarian governance, centralized authority, and a vigorous pursuit of modernization and secularization. The Shah commanded considerable executive authority, exercising control over the military and governmental ministries. While the governmental structure nominally embraced a monarchy, political parties faced severe constraints, and electoral processes often succumbed to fraud and manipulation in order to uphold the dominance of the Shah's loyalists. Additionally, the Shah's administration fostered close alliances with Western nations, particularly the United States, which furnished military support and economic assistance. The Shah's administration was viewed as oppressive, brutal, corrupt, and extravagantly lavish by certain segments of society during that era. Moreover, it grappled with fundamental operational shortcomings, resulting in economic bottlenecks, scarcities, and inflationary pressures. Many regarded the Shah as subservient to, or even a puppet of, non-Muslim Western influence, whose cultural sway was encroaching upon Iran's own identity. These factors, in conjunction with other pivotal elements, laid the foundation for the revolution that heralded the dawn of a new era in Iran's history. A key factor was the influence of Iran's merchant class, commonly known as the Bazaris, whose economic and social significance within Iranian society was paramount. These merchants held substantial political sway owing to their economic clout and extensive trade networks, a dominance rooted as far back as the Mongol conquest of Iran in the 13th century. Illustrative of their influence, the Bazaris played a pivotal role in the success of the tobacco protest of 1896, a watershed moment that dramatically reshaped Iran's political landscape. The repercussions of this protest included direct Russian intervention in Iran, ultimately facilitating to the rise of the power of Reza Shah, a former colonel in the Tsarist army, in 1921. Leading up to the revolution, the Bazaris continued to wield similar influence, shaping the course of events in Iran. From a geopolitical standpoint, the Arab-Israeli War of 1973 and the subsequent oil embargo imposed by OPEC countries had far-reaching implications in Iran. Almost overnight, the Iranian government reaped substantial profits from the sharp rise in oil prices. The Shah allocated the majority of this newfound wealth towards military expenditures, leading to heightened inflation, income disparity, and heightened demand for various scarce resources. While the economic windfall resulting from Iran's heavy reliance on oil exports enriched a select few, primarily comprising of the Shah's inner circle and close associates who adopted opulent Western lifestyles, the adverse effects of inflation, overpopulation, and the nation's increasing dependence on a single commodity disproportionately impacted the Bazaris. This group crucially played a pivotal role in undermining the Shah's regime. Another significant factor contributing to the widespread support garnered by the Iranian Revolution stemmed from its origins as a sweeping anti-Shah movement. This multifaceted movement encompassed not only segments of the religious establishment, but also socialists, communists, and intellectual factions associated with the bourgeoisie. However, within this coalition, there existed divergent viewpoints regarding the revolution's objectives beyond the overthrow of the Shah's regime. Leading up to the Iranian Revolution, opposition to the Shah's regime was not exclusively rooted in religious motivations. A diverse array of individuals from varying backgrounds and ideological perspectives opposed his rule. While some advocated for an Islamic government as a replacement, others proposed the adoption of certain Islamic legal principles within a modernized context. Notably, influential figures like Ali Shariati and Mehdi Bazargan blended Islamic theology with contemporary political philosophies, with Shariati drawing inspiration from Marxism and Bazargan espousing liberal ideals focused on broader concepts of justice. These thinkers resonated with significant portions of the Iranian populace. In addition to these figures were also secular movements advocating for the establishment of a non-religious regime in place of the Shah's. Overall, opposition to the Shah was characterized by its diverse and multifaceted nature, with differing goals and ideologies among its constituents. The third pivotal aspect was the influence of the clergy. The modern-day administration in Iran designates the state of Iran as an Islamic republic governed by the concept of guardianship of the jurist. This doctrine posits that the supreme political authority resides in the highest-ranking Shia Islamic jurist, recognized as the supreme leader. Selected by a council of Islamic scholars, this leader wields considerable control over the military, judiciary, and governmental apparatus, shaping the country's direction in accordance with Shia legal principles. While Iran's governmental structure can be correctly characterized as a Shiite theocracy, it does not necessarily represent the inevitable conclusion of Shiite political ideology. For some context, the theological conflict between what we call Sunnis and the Shiites began as a political dispute over the question of leadership in the Islamic community following the death of the Prophet. Some suggested that the Islamic community should be led by Abu Bakr, one of the Prophet's earliest friends and converts to Islam. Others argued that the Prophet had appointed his cousin and son-in-law Ali as his successor. Shiites took their name from their support of Ali and his family. Gradually, the initial political divergence evolved to encompass distinct theological dimensions. The clergy came to realize that immediate attainment of political leadership within the Islamic community was unlikely, prompting them to predominantly adopt a quietist stance towards political involvement, abstaining from engagements in political matters as they were perceived as liable to precipitate chaos and calamity. Consequently, they counseled fellow Shiites to embrace the notion of dissimulation, advising them to conceal their religious beliefs from potential antagonist regimes. Involvement in politics, they cautioned, posed a threat to the ethical principles of believers. Shi'ism was established as a state religion in Iran during the 16th century under the Safavid dynasty. However, it was not until the 19th and early 20th centuries that a shift away from the quietist approach began to occur, albeit gradually and unevenly. The Tobacco Revolt, as mentioned earlier, serves as a notable example of this evolving dynamic. This uprising witnessed a rare collaboration between the merchant classes and the Shia clergy, epitomized by Ayatollah Mirza Shirazi issuing a fatwa prohibiting the consumption of tobacco. The Tobacco Revolt exemplified the potency of collective action when the Bazaris and the clergy aligned their efforts. Nevertheless, political meddling did not become the commonplace following the Tobacco Revolt. Even amid the Shah's reign, post his ousting and the establishment of the Islamic Republic, numerous clergy members abstained from political involvement. Nonetheless, their influence notably expanded during this era. Conversely, some also began to exhibit a heightened interest in direct engagement with political matters. And now enter stage Ayatollah Khomeini. He was one of the ones that had begun to express a more direct interest in political affairs. Born in September 1902, he received his education in Qom, the primary hub of Shia theology in Iran, and garnered recognition as a respected scholar. His involvement in politics commenced as early as 1944, during which he began formulating his theory of the governance of the jurist. By the early 1960s, his political activism intensified, leading to his exile in 1964, primarily due to his outspoken opposition to the Shah's regime and its initiatives aimed at modernizing and westernization. He would only re-enter Iran shortly before the culmination of the revolution. During this period, Khomeini had attained a status akin to a celebrity in Iran, although a portion of the opposition viewed him with a measure of skepticism, a perspective that in hindsight appears to have been justified. Now, Considering the previously discussed factors, there was no clear trajectory towards the establishment of a theocratic state. While some advocated for Islam to have a role in the new state, widespread consensus did not exist, particularly regarding Islam assuming a dominant position. Much of this can be attributed to Khomeini's astuteness and political acumen, which were further bolstered by the onset of the Iran-Iraq War. The revolution began with mass protests and demonstrations across Iran in 1978. Initially led by secular liberals, students, and intellectuals, the protests soon gained momentum and broad-based support from various segments of society, including religious conservatives and the urban poor. From exile, Khomeini galvanized opposition to the Shah rule, calling for the establishment of an Islamic government based on Shia principles. However, Khomeini never spelled out what this meant exactly. He took care to keep his actual vision of clerical rule confined within his Islamic opposition network to the Shah, avoiding alarming the secular middle class and potentially deterring their support. His movement championed populism, advocating for the rights of the oppressed and marginalized, a category that, within this framework, encompassed virtually all Iranians apart from the Shah and the imperial courts. Amid escalating protests, the Shah's regime resorted to repression, imposing martial law and employing force against demonstrators. However, these tactics only served to inflame further discontent and resistance, precipitating widespread strikes, civil disobedience, and confrontation with the security forces. In the final months of his reign, Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi had become deeply unpopular, extinguishing any prospects of state-level reforms that could have transformed Iran into a constitutional monarchy. By mid-January 1979, the Shah himself had departed, transferring power to Shahpur Bakhtiar, his final prime minister. After the Shah's departure, Ayatollah Khomeini made a triumphant return to Iran on February 1, 1979, greeted as a hero. Enjoying widespread popular support, he promptly initiated the establishment of an Islamic republic rooted in Shia Islamic principles. Within a mere 2 months of Khomeini's return, by the end of March 1979, the provisional government conducted a referendum. The referendum question proposed whether the monarchy should be abolished in favor for an Islamic government. Despite objections raised by certain factions regarding the phrasing, Khomeini dismissed any proposed alterations. An overwhelming 98% of the voters expressed their support for the abolition of the monarchy. At this juncture, Khomeini found justification for assuming control of the provisional governments. This became further cemented a few months later when Bazargan, previously mentioned, who had been appointed prime minister by Khomeini partly as a gesture of goodwill towards those wary of Khomeini's motives, resigned from his post in response to the seizure of the US embassy and the subsequent hostage crisis in 1979. Following the revolution, Khomeini's administration took decisive steps to strengthen its grip on power, purging vestiges of the previous regime and implementing Islamic law across various facets of Iranian society, encompassing politics, legal frameworks, education, and cultural norms. Subsequently, the outbreak of the Iran-Iraq War provided an opportunity for Khomeini to further solidify his authority. Given Iraq's significant Shia population, and Khomeini's previous residence in Iraq during his exile, Saddam Hussein perceived the potential for revolutionary fervor to spill over into his own country. In a preemptive move, Hussein initiated an invasion of Iraq in September 1980. Despite Khomeini's already established dominance, the war then enabled him to effectively quash any remaining pockets of political opposition. And there you have it. That's how it happened.